If you are a lover of secular music or hip hop, or if you are a follower of these Hollywood celebrities, this video is very important to you. I want you to take your time to listen to whatever that I'm going to share with you. This was sent in recently by a dear sister. After listening to this message, you will understand the importance of staying away from certain things. The Bible says that God has given us the free will to do whatever we want to do, but not all things are beneficial to us. So as a Christian, as a believer of God, there is no reason why you should be following certain people that clearly and obviously we know that they are of the devil. They are agents of the devil. The more you get involved with these people, the more you get connected to the devil, and they will easily possess you. This revelation that was given to our dear sister has to do with certain terrible secrets that is actually going on in the entertainment industry. In recent times, there have been a whole lot of exposure of evil stuff going on in the entertainment industry. And it is really sad when you listen to some of these things. The devil is very smart. You need to know that. Okay, so please, I just want you to pay attention. No part has been taken out of the story and nothing has been added to it. If you have any vision, if you have any message from the Lord or testimony that you would want to share with us, please pick up my email address in the description section of the video. Record a video or an audio narrating your message and then send it in. Once I receive permission from the Lord, I am going to put your message on the channel for people to listen and watch. All right, so thank you and God bless you.
My name is Sei Sabani. I had this experience on the 25th of July 2024. I'm going to share this with you because I know there are lots of Christians that still listen and follow these guys, all in the name of entertainment. These people in the entertainment industry are evil. They are agents of the devil. And this is why every Christian must stay away from them. Jay-Z is one of them. He is not who he claims to be. He has a dark secret that God chose to reveal in this season. I pray your subscribers will listen to this. I had been thinking about my son all day. He had just left for university, and as any mother would, I couldn't help but worry. The world is unpredictable these days. I had this nagging feeling about his safety. I trusted that we raised him well, but still, he was far from home now, and that distance made me uneasy. After my son left home, I found images of some secular musicians in his files, and I also saw notes of some verses of rap he was making. I got to find out that day that my son was a fan of hip-hop. The thought of what we might face, temptations, peer pressure, and the unknown dangers kept replaying in my mind. I knew I needed to pray more, to cover him with protection, especially in this new chapter of his life. The very evening, as I sat down to pray, I was about to begin speaking softly to God, asking him to watch over my son, when something shifted around me. It was sudden, like being pulled into a different state of awareness. My surroundings changed, and I wasn't sitting in my living room anymore. I was somewhere else entirely. The atmosphere in this place felt different. The sky above me was a dark, heavy gray, like it was about to rain, but something about it felt unnatural. As I stood there, I started to see images, flashes of things I couldn't fully understand at first. They came rapidly, one after another, almost too fast for me to process. And then, in the middle of these images, I saw Jay-Z. He looked like the public image we all know, but there was something else, something different that I hadn't seen before. His eyes were cold, and there was no life in them, just emptiness. I saw him in places that didn't make sense, doing things that seemed out of place for someone in his position. He wasn't in a studio or at a concert. These were secret places, hidden from the public. There were children involved, young and innocent, being taken from one country to another. It was like he was a part of some dark network, moving them for purposes I couldn't bear to fully comprehend. The scenes flashed too quickly, but the pain and fear on the faces of those children were loud in my mind. As the vision continued, I found myself moving towards a massive estate, tucked away in a secluded location. I don't know how I arrived there. It was as if I had been transported in an instant from the dark, oppressive atmosphere into this place of deceptive grandeur. The estate was massive, sprawling across acres of land, with perfectly manicured lawns and high gates. On the surface, it looked like luxury, like a place where wonderful people would gather for exclusive private events. But the moment I stepped inside, I knew something was terribly wrong. I saw lavish decorations, the chandeliers, the marble floors, the expensive artwork on the walls. Then I saw young girls. They were scattered around the estate, some sitting quietly in rooms, others walking listlessly through the hallways. They looked out of place, dressed in clothes that seemed more like costumes than anything of their own choosing. Their faces were pale, their eyes lifeless, as if whatever hope they once had was long gone. There were no smiles, no laughter, only silence and fear. One of these girls passed by me, and I could see the marks on her arms, faint but telling. Bruises, some old, some fresh. She moved carefully, as though any sudden movement would bring pain. It was clear they had been mishandled and mistreated in ways that broke their spirits. I saw one girl standing near a window, staring out blankly, and I could almost feel her despair. There was something so deeply tragic in their silence. It wasn't just that they were physically held captive, their spirits had been crushed. As I continued through the estates, I noticed the presence of men, wealthy, powerful men. They walked through the halls as if they owned the place. They weren't here for business, not in the traditional sense. I could feel their intentions, the darkness that followed them, and the way they looked at the girls with cold, possessive eyes. These men, men of influence and authority in the world, were frequenting this estate for reasons that defied humanity. Then I saw Jay-Z again. He wasn't just a visitor here, he was in control. He moved through the estate with authority, like this was his domain. It was clear that everything happening in this place was under his watch. The girls, the men, the silence, they were all part of the web he had spun. And yet, there was something even darker about him, something beyond his influence over the physical world. Suddenly, I felt a distinct shift in the air, a coldness that made my heart race. I turned, and though I couldn't see anything, I knew there was an evil presence in the room. I could feel it circling me, watching me. My body felt heavy and a deep sense of dread settled in my chest. I felt paralyzed for a moment, unable to move, as though this presence had bound me in place. It was overpowering. Suddenly, an understanding dawned on me. I began to understand that Jay-Z's influence wasn't confined to just this estate. He had connections, a network that reached far beyond what any of us could see on the surface. It was like he had his hands in dark dealings all over the world, and children were being trafficked as part of this horrific system. The images flashed before me, children being moved from one country to another, hidden behind the veil of legitimate business and organizations. It was terrifying to realize how deep the evil ran. From what I saw, it was clear that this wasn't just about money or power. It was about control, about exploiting the most vulnerable for the most wicked purposes. And Jay-Z was at the center of it all, pulling the strings, making sure everything stayed hidden from the world's eyes. As I walked further into the estate, I overheard conversations. They were talking about the children, about the young girls as if they were commodities to be traded. In the midst of this oppressive atmosphere, I saw her, a young girl, not older than 12, sitting by herself in a corner, her knees pulled up to her chest. She looked fragile, as though she hadn't eaten in days. Her eyes were red from crying, but what struck me the most was the look on her face. Resigned, hopeless, as if she had already accepted that no one was coming to save her. As I went deeper into the estate, I was shown something that I hadn't expected, a revelation even more disturbing. Jay-Z's involvement wasn't limited to young girls. I saw young men too. I was shown images, brief but vivid, of these young men. Many of them looked lost, their faces showing signs of deep guilt and shame. They didn't look like they wanted to be there, but something was keeping them bound, something invincible yet powerful. I could feel Jay-Z's manipulation in the air, the way Jay-Z held control over them, keeping them in a state of submission. It wasn't just physical control, it was spiritual. These young men were trapped, ensnared in a kind of bondage that went beyond the flesh. As the vision began to fade, I felt myself being pulled back to reality. For a few moments, I sat still, unable to move or think clearly. The realization of what I had just experienced hit me like a wave. This wasn't just a dream or a passing vision. It's something real. I realized that I couldn't keep this to myself. The vision, it was a call to action, a wake-up call for all of us. I thought about my son, about the world he was growing up in, the dangers that exist even in places we least expect. The battle is not just physical, but spiritual. And without prayer and discernment, we risk falling into some traps I had seen in the vision. I want to call on believers to pray, not just for the victims of such evil, but for those who have aligned themselves with it. Even as I recoiled from the darkness I had seen in Jay-Z, I felt a deep conviction we pray for him and others like him. We must be vigilant. We can't afford to be complacent, to ignore the signs of spiritual decay in our world. There is too much at stake. The power of prayer, of standing firm in faith, is more necessary now more than ever. As I sat in the silence of my room, still trembling from the experience, I knew that the only response was to fall to my knees and pray for protection, guidance, and the strength to confront the darkness that I had just witnessed. And I invite you to do same in your closet.